2, 3, 4.
Konnichiwa and good morning, my brothers and sisters. This is our inaugural fifth. Am I even using that word right, guys?
Just go with it.
Good enough for me.
Let's try a different one. This is our fifth seminal episode of the Good Morning Guys podcast. As we continue discussing the game of life amidst the other games we love to watch and play, I am one of your hosts, the guy who knows more about rice than Doctor Who, Lucas Ham. Also with me are the master of bathroom remodeling and Toys R Us jingle singing, Patrick Novabeyond.
What's a seminal?
Isn't that weekly?
I don't know.
I believe it's an old wooden ship used back in the Civil War.
Just like the Tartarus.
Isn't that? Wow.
I'm actually pretty sure it's a tribe of Indians.
No, is it
I
the
was going to
Florida
say, isn't
Seminoles?
that the mascot for Florida State?
Yes.
I think what you're going for is
Not the same Seminole.
Centennial episode.
1 minute 36 seconds. We are off track.
At least we're being multicultural. So, you want to say hi, Patrick Novacell?
Hi.
We also have the man who's watched more paint dry than modern movies, Ronnie J.
Hello.
And last but certainly not least, the captain of the USS Tartarus and our resident Dr. Whovian expert, Marc Butcher.
Hello!
Thanks for joining us on this fine morning, afternoon, evening, or night. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. If this is not your first rodeo, as the Cowboys and Bull Wranglers say, then welcome back. This is one of the many conversational podcasts out there, so we hope you won't just sit back and listen to the things we share, but that you'll also give feedback, ask questions, and find ways to connect with us. Like if you have suggestions for nicknames or topics or anything for future episodes. We are all ears, guys, and we will try to make you a part of the show as much as we can. If you don't know how to connect with us well, stick with us, and by the end of our time together today, we will share some options of connecting as we seek to connect with you. So, like we do every week, let's start out by gathering around the old watering hole and talk about what's new in our lives in entertainment, sports, video games, and the world. Discussing the highs, lows, and in-betweens. Ronnie, why don't you lead the way for us, buddy?
Oh, all right. No new updates in my weekly life. A fairly boring week. Normal.
Fantastic.
I will say, Bengals win again. 4-1. I mean, Bengals, Super Bowl, collision course.
Who day?
That's right. So the Bengals were down 17-3 at the start of the fourth quarter. They won 27-17.
Nice. Who did they play? I missed it all.
They played the Dolphins, who were 3-1.
A good win for the Bengals.
Good win for the Bengals. 27 unanswered points. So the Bengals 4-1. A little bit of sporting news. Drew Brees breaks Peyton Manning's all-time passing record. He is now the all-time passing leader in the NFL. I think that's awesome. If you ever read about Drew Brees, he is a very good guy that gives passing yards altogether.
Oh, okay.
You ever read about Drew Brees, he's a really good dude that gives back to the community and everything. So definitely a good guy right there to break that.
That's awesome.
And also this week, did any of you guys happen to catch the Conor McGregor, Khabib, Nurmagomedov fight?
Good effort, Ronnie.
That was
rough name.
That was
God bless
best
you.
I could do.
Ramalama Ding Dong.
Just Habib from now on.
Yep, going forward.
But yeah, I saw it.
So
Did you catch it?
I did not catch it. I watched highlights of it after I saw all the notifications coming through on my phone. So Conor McGregor lost. He was submitted by Khabib. And after the fight, this guy jumps over the octagon and just begins brawling with people in the stands. I guess it was like Conor McGregor's crew or whatever. And he jumps off this thing like just kicking the first guy. It was it was something else.
That's crazy.
So all the articles that I've read about it since then, he was really upset about a lot of stuff. If you ever see these UFC fights, all the stuff that they say, like leading up to these fights to like sell the fights, they are brutal, man. Like there is absolutely no rules. Like the society norms do not apply in those. I mean, these guys Conor McGregor's calling this guy's dad a coward and all of this stuff, just really crushing him up there. So this guy was mad about everything. So all the
Classic.
articles that I read basically said that it was like the worst night ever for the UFC, which, I mean, was it really? Like the UFC, it's a little bit of sewage, to be honest with you. Like, and I say that, just in, I guess, the best way possible. I mean, you're not watching that sport for its like wholesome values, right? I mean, you're expecting people just to fight random people in the stands, I would think.
That's true.
So I thought it was funny, like the natural reaction of all these people writing about it, because it was awesome. Like if I'm watching a UFC pay-per-view, that's exactly what I want to see. After the fight, more fighting, just randomly in the crowd.
I don't know. I would expect. I don't know. I've never watched that. I really haven't watched that many UFC fights. But you would think, like, as with any like boxing match or wrestling match. Now I know UFC is much more brutal than any of that stuff, but you would expect there to be at least some decorum to the point where it's like, okay, well the fight's done here in the octagon. I guess I'll take it outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the guys in the ring, like the guys that I guess works for UFC, was trying to hold him back, but I mean, there's not a chance that was happening. The guy went right over the rail in like a second. But yeah, it was something. It was
Well, the
definitely
whole
something.
point of the UFC is you settle it in the ring. I mean, this was for the UFC championship, where two guys square off. Yes, they had their pre-fight, squabs where they're. I mean, Conor was talking about like not just at Khabib. I mean, he was talking about his father. He was talking about his religion. I mean, he's getting really, 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 really personal with it. Which Khabib, I mean, he is. I don't know what his religion is, but he was. I mean, it's very personal to him. I mean, he takes a lot of pride in that, And when someone attacks you personally, I mean, the emotions get high and everything. But he won. He beat Conor. He beat him. Aside from all of that Conor said to him, and when he won, usually when winners beat these guys, they are very respectful. They stand up like, hey, they may still not like each other. They may still hate each other, but there's usually a lot of respect that is in the ring. And when Khabib had jumped the cage and went after Conor's corner and his guys, that was unlike anything other I've seen in the UFC. Because I've been watching UFC since UFC 1. And seeing that is not what UFC is all about, because it is all done in the ring. And then after he jumps the fence, there was one guy that jumped into the octagon that was in Khabib's corner, and he had sucker punched Conor McGregor. And then there was a spectator that somehow got past guards and security guards and things like that. He jumped into the octagon and also punched Conor McGregor. I'm like, there's a lot of things going wrong in this situation. There's a lot of security issues.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, this isn't what needs to happen in the UFC, because yes, it is a brutal sport, like you said. It is guys who are usually, I mean, they're not fighting with gloves. I mean, they're fighting with like, what is it? I don't know, 2-inch gloves or something like that. They're not using boxing gloves. They're using stuff that is just covering your knuckles, not your fingers or anything. So they are light gloves, and you hit hard with those. So it should have been done in the ring. It should have never been taken out of the ring. I mean, when you're doing that, when you're outside the ring, outside the rules and the confines of the Nevada Athletic Commission, you're going into some criminal territories where you are actually attacking people. I cannot believe that he did that. And I haven't watched a UFC fight in probably about a month. And I turned it on obviously because Conor McGregor was fighting. And Conor McGregor, he brings a lot of fans. He brings a lot of because of how loud he is. And he gets a lot of the card gets up, the purse comes up. So a lot of people were watching this, and yeah, I mean, this isn't a family wholesome time where you gather around with your kids and your family to watch this. No, this is supposed to be stuff, but this is supposed to be stuff that you do inside the ring. It shouldn't have been taken outside the ring, and this is for the title shot. So when you have a winner, you have a champion, you have a title fight, and you are the top of the world, and you act like that, that is not the way a champion should act, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm kind of on the outside looking in. I don't really have I think I've watched like 2 or 3 UFC fights, But as an outsider, kind of just as a general sports enthusiast and as someone who used to watch a lot of WrestleMania as a kid, what separates this from WrestleMania if they're doing this kind of crazy stuff? I mean, they should be having more sportsman-like attitudes, because that's a part of professional sports. If it's going to be professional, then you gotta, I understand talking smack like in the weigh-in and saying things that, it's not like they were addressing the crowd. They were having conversations, and it's part of the entertainment, I think. Who knows if they're being genuine in the things they're saying, but at the same time, once you lose that sportsmanship stuff, it's just UFC becomes WrestleMania. So, and we all know what that's like. That's like soap operas for men.
Well, yeah, WrestleMania and the WWE, that is fake. It's scripted. They have scripts where, hey, you're going to be the good guy, and this guy's going to be the bad guy. Figure out what you need to do to become those, and then you're off. And then after the fight, when they're in the locker room, most of these guys are friends. They train together, they wrestle together, but these UFC guys, this is real. These are guys that genuinely hate each other for stuff that's happened years ago where they were never involved, and they're all hating each other because they're from a different country. This is Ireland versus, I don't know where Habib's from, but it was two nations.
I believe it's Russia.
Was it? Okay, so
actually, the flag I saw was Canada.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. But like you said, it should be professional.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think I understand that too, and I think probably for the people that watch UFC, like probably like Patrick would, where they're watching it every time a pay-per-view comes up or big fights and stuff like that. Like, I can understand wanting to basically wanting that to be more, I guess, pure in a way, or just basically within the rules. For somebody like me who never watches UFC as a spectacle, I think it was awesome just because it was outside of the norm. And I think that, I'm obviously not the average fan, but it probably boosted ratings. I mean, how many people do you think got up, after that fight the next morning or whatever, and they're, on there watching videos and stuff like that? I guarantee you the sport is more popular today just because.
Sure, and I agree. I agree that a lot of people have seen it, and a lot of people are taking notice of UFC because of this, but this doesn't bode well for Habib. I mean, he does not have a green card. He is not a U.S. citizen. He is able to fight with a work visa. And him doing this where he jumped out of the cage and attacked someone outside the ring and being brought against a Nevada Athletic Commission, maybe being brought against criminal charges for assault, he could lose his visa and he could have to go back to where his homeland is. I guess that's Russia. So he would have to go back to Russia. So he wouldn't be able to fight here in the United States anymore. And also because of what he did, they held his purse, which was about $2 million. Maybe it was $3 million, but it was a lot. But they held it because of this, because of what he's done. So yeah, I mean it's an exciting thing as a fan, as a casual fan, to see something like this. But it's not good for Habib in any case.
Yeah, I can definitely see that from both perspectives, but it was definitely a spectacle, that's for sure. I think it was the biggest sports, the biggest sports thing over the weekend, and I normally wouldn't even bother logging in, watching videos or anything like that, but that brought me, not really a UFC fan, just the average person. I heard about that, I was like, man, I got to see this. This is probably gonna be something.
Well, I think just a final kind of note to add. I think from what Ronnie said, it sounds like this incident is kind of like when you're looking for a fight in hockey or a crash in NASCAR. It's not something that you want to happen, but when it happens, it's a part of the sport. And, if people did stuff on purpose, which obviously he jumped over the octagon and attacked those people outside of the ring, so people definitely need to be punished. But at the same time, I think it is a natural part of sports. When you get a bunch of guys together doing this kind of stuff, people are going to lose their cool, and they're going to get crazy sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
And I did fact check, and I don't know where I got Canada. Definitely Russia is the country on that end. So
yes,
for Khabib, good old Khabib.
Well, that is all I have for sports, though. Patrick, what do you have for us today?
Oh my goodness. What I did this past week is I did a little homework. So I watched Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3.
Yeah,
and I
you
gotta
did.
say, it was 1,000 times better than WALL-E. And 2,000 times better than Ratatouille. They were good. They were actually good. I like Toy Story 1, so watching Toy Story 2 and 3, I pretty much watched them back to back on Saturday. Watched Toy Story 2 with my son. He really liked it. And then that night, my wife went out with her friends, and I stayed home. And instead of playing games, which is what I normally do, I decided to watch Toy Story 3. So I watched Toy Story 3 on Saturday night, and that was pretty good. I really liked it. So I'm really looking forward to what they do for Toy Story 4, because I felt like it was pretty much an ending. You know, like what happened without any spoilers. It felt like an ending. It felt like the end of a trilogy, and it really didn't need to know. I really don't need to see these guys anymore. I'm pretty excited that there's going to be another Toy Story now that I've watched 2 and 3. But I don't feel like I needed it. It's interesting that they're going to be doing another story. I don't know what they're going to do. Have you heard anything of what the storyline's going to be in 4?
I haven't. I have to say that I agree with you. I felt like with the trilogy, they just came full circle, and
Yeah.
they put a little nice bow on it, and I thought it was perfect. It was really good. I am intrigued to know what it is, but I really have no idea other than what I mentioned last week when Tim Allen said he was getting so emotional that it was hard for him to, do some of his lines and get to the last part of the movie when they're recording.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't really have any idea what they're going to do.
I did see that they are going to be Woody is going to try to find Bo, his, I guess, girlfriend or whatever they are. Yeah,
Yep.
I think
Bo
that's
Peep.
that's the only thing that I heard of what they're gonna do. But
Okay, interesting.
so he did that. I saw Venom on Friday night. In spite of the reviews that were out there saying this was one of the worst comic book movies out there, reminiscent of the earlier Spider-Mans with Tobey Maguire. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed the movie. The movie was fun. It was funny. There was a lot of action. Venom was in it for an hour of it. I was not expecting him to be in the movie that much.
Nice.
It took about 45 minutes to get there. But once he stole almost every scene, and the banter between Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock, and Venom was absolutely hilarious. Mark, you saw the movie, right? What did you think of it?
I did see the movie. I saw it on Saturday, and I saw it with my wife and my father and brother-in-law. And yeah, I had heard all the reviews about it. I think when they first launched it on Rotten Tomatoes, it was like 28% or something like that. I think it went up to 31%, but I'm like, oh no, that's Batman versus Superman territory.
Uh-oh.
So I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go, but I'm gonna try to see it anyway because I had seen some early reviews from just casual moviegoers and not so much the critics that were like, this was good. I enjoyed this. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna see it for myself. And so Saturday afternoon, went to a matinee showing of it. There were plenty of people in the theater, and I thought it was very good. I thought they did a very good job with it. Was it revolutionary in terms of the story they were trying to tell? No.
No.
Are there better movies than Venom? Yes.
Yes.
But it was a good 2-hour popcorn movie, and it was intense at times. It was funny. Honestly, I kind of hope there's like an R-rated version of that movie.
Yeah, I think there might be because they took out like 40-something minutes of it. Tom Hardy said that they took out some of his favorite scenes, so maybe there will be a director's cut or an unrated one when it comes out on Blu-ray. So who knows? But yeah. I mean, like you said, it wasn't the best movie, but it was a good movie. I mean, I really enjoyed myself when I was watching that.
I mean, it had a cohesive story. It did the first like maybe 30 to 45 minutes. The pacing was a little slow to start out, but as I was thinking about it as we were watching the movie, they kind of had to sort of create a downward spiral for for Eddie Brock without getting into too many spoilers there, but before the whole Venom thing happens. And yeah, I think they did a great job with the special effects for Venom, and other characters in the movie. And yeah, I think they did a great job with it, and it really doesn't deserve the vitriol the that the reviewers, that the critics gave to it. Not every movie has to be an Avengers billion-dollar movie. It can just be a good, fun popcorn movie. And I think it differentiates itself enough from your typical superhero movies. It definitely separates itself from MCU, anything to do with Spider-Man, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, so I'll be interested to see what they do with it because it broke the October records for opening weekend for a movie. So that was pretty cool to see. So we'll see what happens and if there's going to be a sequel, because they leave it up to a sequel. So I can't wait to see what they do with that. Another thing that I watched Doctor Who for the first time. I watched episode 1 of season 11. And I saw.
Oh, I hope you.
I heard. I didn't see the TARDIS. I heard about the TARDIS.
You're pronouncing that wrong. That is the Tartarus. The Tartarus is the proper Greek pronunciation.
Yeah, which doesn't make any sense why they call it the TARDIS, because the acronym for it doesn't make any sense. But anyways, I watched that. It was okay. I didn't really know. It seemed like there was a lot of inside jokes. A lot of things that I might have missed if I would have watched other Doctor Who episodes or other seasons. But I got the gist of it, understood it. I really liked the lead character, the lead actor. She was really cool. I really liked it. So I'm gonna give it a few more episodes, see if I like it. How long is this season? 10 episodes? If it's 10 episodes, I want to watch the entire thing.
I want to say it's 10 or 11. They shortened this season as compared to the other ones that are like 13 or 14. But yeah, there was no TARDIS in this episode, which was interesting. But it's definitely going to play into the next episode. But they kind of assume that a lot of the people watching, they've seen the show before. They know what the TARDIS is. And it really plays into the plot and what they're dealing with. So
yeah,
they kind of leave you hanging, and I'll get into more of that when I'm talking about my week. But I'm glad you watched it. I'm glad you gave it a try, though. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a weird spot to jump in, but at the same time, it's kind of not, because they're kind of restarting with new doctor, new showrunner, new writers. New pretty much new everything. So that's the beautiful thing about the show, is that it anytime there's a new changing of the guard in terms of the actor or actress playing the doctor and showrunners, it's kind of like the show reboots itself, even though it's got the same lore.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I get it. So that's why I jumped in, knowing that there's different characters in every single season, almost every single season, and. So yeah, I think it was a good start for me, and I'll watch the rest of that. On the gaming front, I played Forza Horizon 4. That's free for Game Pass, and I played for about 3 hours, and I got enough money to buy a car. So I went to the car show or the car garage or whatever it was called, and I found that there was my favorite car of all time is in this game. It's the 2-door 1969 Chevy Nova, and I saw that. I'm like, oh, I am gonna get this, and I tuned that sucker up, and I drove that for probably about 15 more hours. Just that car alone. So that was really, really fun to actually drive my favorite car for the first time in any racing game that I played. I'm not a big racing game guy, so that car might have been in previous games, but playing that was really, really, really cool. On Monday, I played, last night on Tuesday, I played the new Overwatch Halloween Event. I played with like Lem, Eric, Drew, and some other people. There was a lot of people on Tuesday because the Halloween event just started. So there were a lot of people on. I think there was at one time there were 10 of us. Usually there's about 4-5 people. So there was double at this time. So that was pretty cool to play. And then I also went to a concert. I went to a Trivium concert.
Whoa. Hold up,
Hey,
brother. You need to slow down. I'm barely keeping up with you. Speaking of Halloween, I got a random question for you from our very own Sheldor 4000 at Sheldor 40,001. He had this to say: the Halloween skins in Overwatch have come out. Which, spelled like WITCH, love the pun, Sheldor. Which are your favorite and least favorite skins for the Halloween event?
Oh, am I the only one that plays Overwatch on this?
I don't
Marc,
think
you
so.
play, right?
I play Overwatch, but I have not played it since they launched the whole Halloween event, which I'm ashamed of, but I need to get into that. So yeah, I guess you stand alone on this one for the moment.
Okay, so all right, well then this is pretty easy for me. So there is this character in this game. His name's Wrecking Ball, and he is in this big spherical ball, and it is manned by a hamster. There's two different modes you can be. You can be in a ball mode where you can roll around the entire map, or you can be in fighting mode where once you're in fighting mode, like 4 legs pop out, Hammond pops out of the top, and then 2 guns on each side, or 1 gun on each side for shooting. And it's pretty cool in of itself, but the skin for him is, instead of being a wrecking ball, he's a huge pumpkin instead. So That is, if you have a chance to check it out, that's a really cool skin to be running around in that big, huge pumpkin. So that was my favorite one.
I have to say that when I last saw his reveal, I think that was pretty recently, in the past month or so, it really took me back to when I had a hamster. And if my hamster had been that cool, I might have kept him around a little longer. So it's definitely been tempting to play some Overwatch, but not that tempting. My life has been too crazy and all over the place, and to nail me down and get me to commit to such multiplayer fun, I have yet to jump into the deep end. But I think that's pretty cool, and I like those skins. Are there any skins that have like any 80s or 90s pop culture references?
Yes. So there's a skin for Soldier 76. So he's more of like your Call of Duty kind of guy. And his skin, he's got like a mask that he wears normally, and kind of like a visor and something over his mouth, kind of like what Cyclops has, like a big visor over his eyes.
Yeah.
So instead of that mask and the visor, he's wearing a Jason mask.
Nice.
So that one's really cool.
Well, then, to answer Sheldor's question, even though I don't play, that's my favorite skin, and definitely the one I would get if I were Soldier 76. How about you, Ronnie?
Yeah, I'd probably go with that one too. You took the words right out of my mouth.
And I'm out.
Great minds think alike, my friend. Great minds.
Thank you.
All right. I'll let you continue with your update, Patrick. Thanks for humoring me.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Sheldor,
no problem.
thanks for giving us that
thanks,
question,
Sheldor.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
Real quick, Patrick, does Diva have a skin? I'm a Diva main for Overwatch. Did she get a skin for this?
I'm sure she's got a skin. I don't know if there's a new one this year, if there's one from last year. I'm not sure. But, I only jumped into Overwatch starting in May of this year. So this is my first Halloween event. So I haven't checked out what the old Halloween skins are and this Halloween skin. So I really don't know, other than the few that I even discussed previously.
Actually,
Gotcha.
rumor has it it's Mrs. Frankenstein skin.
Interesting.
I'm just kidding. I have no idea. I just made that up.
I don't know. Okay.
Don't you be lying.
I can't help it, man.
But lastly, what I did is I went to a concert. I went to a heavy metal concert by Trivium. There were 3 bands up there. They're all heavy metal thrashers kind of guy, where mosh pits occur and headbanging occurs.
Nice.
That is my favorite type of music. Trivium was my favorite band of all time. And I've gone to maybe 4 or 5 of their concerts. They've only been in Cincinnati twice. I've gone to 3 times. And I've gone to Indianapolis and Columbus to go see them as well. But they're a really good band if you're into heavy metal. If you're not into heavy metal, they have a few songs. I'm going to steal Marc's thunder right now, and I'm going to recommend 3 songs by Trivium.
Look out.
Oh, snap.
We probably won't add it to the Good Morning Guys Spotify, because that would be a huge weird time to listen to the songs that he's recommended to these. A drastic difference.
Well,
But there are three.
If we can't add it to the Spotify, I think you need to sing some of it for us because I've never heard Trivium, so I need a little reference to know if I'm gonna
great idea.
give it a try out. You know.
No, I'm not gonna sing this time. I sang last episode. Not this time. You're not gonna get me twice. You can do that all night. I'm not gonna do it.
All right, I will.
3 songs. You can look them up. They got. Is that Superman Block Box? So can I go now? Or all right, that's it for me. Mark, what do you got?
Okay. So Friday, I tried to jump in for a little bit, even though I was totally working on Friday. I tried to jump in on Ed Placencia's No Work Friday stream, doing the Jackbox stuff. He was streaming the 2015 version of You Don't Know Jack, and I was trying to play, but for some reason, he was having a major issue with several people trying to play the game. Like, it wouldn't let people select answers and stuff. And so, like, I couldn't play at all. I was just kind of bummed out. And so, by the time I just kept trying to play and it wouldn't let me answer, and then I had to go back to work. So that was kind of a bummer. But it's okay. Hopefully, I'm excited for the Jackbox Party Pack 5 to come out. I don't think that comes out this week. I think that's next week. So I tried to enjoy as much as possible that stream, but that's kind of a bummer. And then Friday night was our typical out to dinner at a Mexican restaurant with the in-laws, which was awesome. And then Saturday, as I mentioned earlier, I went to go see Venom with my family, which was fun. And then we went to dinner again, which was very nice. That's basically our way of spending quality time with each other is basically is just going out to dinner and stuff. But I enjoy it. But in any case, and then Sunday, yes, of course, Doctor Who came back on, and I'm so glad that it's back on. It's something that my wife and I really bonded over when we started dating. We kind of made it our thing during the fall. We would get together and watch Doctor Who, and so that's kind of our thing.
Nice.
So it's nice to see it back again. New Doctor, new showrunner. I think Jodie Whittaker is doing a fantastic job so far as the Doctor. Very much fitting the role.
Hey, Mark.
Kind of missed the. Yep.
Real quick, what's a showrunner? All I can think of is pantyhose, and when you get a run in your pantyhose. Not that I've ever had that, but just
is that the same thing as Homestar Runner?
Oh, Homestar Runner. That's a much better reference. Okay, never.
No, that is not. That is not what I'm talking about.
I know. Can you believe it? Never mind. You don't need to. I know what a Homestar Runner. Wait, what did I?
Homestar Runner.
What did I ask?
You asked what a showrunner was.
Oh, right. It's like Homestar Runner, just with the show.
First.
Okay, so you know how you got a director like James Gunn does Guardians of the Galaxy. Christopher Nolan did the Dark Knight movies. Well, he's kind of like the main director of the show, the showrunner. He is the guy that's ultimately in charge of making sure that the show is running on course that it should be going on. They have different small time directors that come on and direct each individual episode, but the showrunner basically oversees all of that and makes sure that they're going on the right path, going on the arc for the season. And so the last showrunner, his name was Stephen Moffat, he left at the end of the season. And then a guy by the name of Chris Chibnall basically got on the show. He directed a show, it's a popular British television drama called Broadchurch. And that did quite well in Britain, and so I'm excited to see what he does with the show, and I'm just glad it's back. I kind of missed the TARDIS in the episode and the fact that there was no intro credits. It was kind of weird, and it was like 45 minutes of commercials, which thanks BBC America. So, but
Wait, what? There were
That's what-
45 minutes of commercials?
Yeah.
You, wait,
Oh
you
my
guys
gosh.
watch
That.
you guys watch shows live?
Whoa.
You don't DVR and like fast forward through that stuff?
I watched it on the app the day after, and there was, I don't know, maybe 3 minutes of commercials.
Yeah, they cut that down quite a bit for the on demand, and they actually did like a special event for the first episode, like on the day of. So they had all these like little blurbs from like New York Comic Con happened that weekend, and they had different clips from their panel for Doctor Who that they had at New York Comic Con and all this kind of stuff. So basically, it turned like an hour and a half episode into a 2 hour event or something like that. But it was like 45 minutes of commercials, something like that.
So it was
And-
almost a movie, except
No
it was
way.
a movie with commercials.
Yeah, and it was just bad.
Interesting.
We actually have we have Sling TV on the Xbox, and we actually got the DVR functionality. Just wasn't able to do that for Sunday, but going forward, I will have DVR, and we will be skipping commercials. Although it won't be near as bad. This was kind of a big event because it was the first episode of the season, brand new Doctor, all that kind of stuff. So they made a huge deal out of it. But overall, I enjoyed the episode. The villain was very Doctor Who. It's kind of it's kind of weird. Basically, he was an alien who was hunting a human on the planet, and he was like a warrior race. And when he kills people, he takes one of their teeth and attaches it to his face.
Yeah, I
That's
didn't
kinda like
understand that at all. Like, why?
Wow.
Why?
You
No.
guys are really selling this. I'm so intrigued about teeth on the face.
No, I mean,
Well, it's basically his way of getting his trophy whenever he kills somebody. But that's Doctor Who. It's sci-fi. So, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. That's just Doctor Who.
You are forgiven.
no, but Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor Who or the main character, she was good. Like every time she was on the screen, I mean, she was really really good. I didn't really care for the villain, but whenever she was on there, she stole it. I don't know if the Doctor Who's in the past like steal the scenes, or if they're in all the scenes, but she was really really good. I really liked her.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. There a lot of the actors that they've picked to be the Doctor are pretty much scene stealers, but the villains get better than that. That was just a one-off kind of thing, but yeah, I'm excited to see where the season goes. So that was pretty much my week at a glance. But in terms of gaming news, so I'm sure you guys saw this. This is a pretty big deal. The whole announcement the other day that Microsoft is officially going into the game streaming service, where they're basically going to be able to stream Xbox games to basically anywhere you want.
Revolutionary.
Whether that be absolutely, whether that be on PCs, consoles, mobile devices, wherever you want to play.
I've never heard
I'm
of that
going to
idea.
be
That is crazy.
Very interested to see if they actually do anything with the lag, because the lag is the only reason why this streaming stuff doesn't work. If they can fix that,
Yeah, let's be honest. Can you really do anything about the lag? It's just
I don't know.
they don't have signals that can go at light speed, so
They need a Tartarus. That's what
they need a Tartarus. That's the secret. So we need to do a crossover between Doctor Who and Xbox streaming. Hey, bring in PlayStation. They've been doing streaming now for how long? How many years? And but if anybody can do it, Microsoft has really great networks. They have really great technology. They know what they're doing over there. So they might be able to figure it out. But I can't see how you can ever get rid of lag 100%.
Yeah.
Well, they've got. Oh, go ahead.
Now, is this going to be like able to be used by a large majority of the people? Because the internet here in the United States is not the same as the internet in other nations. Because we have very fast internet, and some people, I mean, that's in certain places. Not every place has internet capabilities, let alone fast internet capabilities. So is this going to be a thing where they're going to make money off of, or are they trying to future-proof themselves and start this from now? I don't know.
Well, Microsoft is actually building custom hardware for all of its data centers. There's actually a video that kind of demonstrates how they are kind of home brewing their own type of data center technology for specifically for this purpose. They actually have one in place already. I'm not remembering where it is, but they said one of their data centers is already equipped for this streaming service. Basically, Microsoft is saying that their research teams are quote creating ways to combat latency, aka lag, via advanced network techniques that are combined with video encoding and decoding. The story is from The Verge, by the way, and so it makes streaming games more viable on like a 4G network, or they're even testing, I believe they talked about in the video, they're testing 5G, which 5G is a thing. It's not worldwide yet, but there are certain networks that are testing out 5G data. So public trials of this streaming service will actually start next year. I believe they're only starting it in the United States for now, just to test it out. And I'm excited to see where it goes. If they can get it to work, Microsoft has their own Azure servers that can handle this kind of stuff. And like I said, with the customization of that for streaming, they may be able to figure it out. And I think streaming is where it's going. Yeah, I know a lot of the world doesn't have the fastest internet. So are we there at this exact moment? No, probably not. But I think we're on our way there, and I think this is a good step in the right direction, because every person in America and people around the world have a smartphone, and so you can basically just hook up an Xbox controller to it and go anywhere and play games. So this is basically the one-upping the Nintendo Switch in a way.
Exactly. Who would want a Nintendo Switch if this is happening?
Exactly. So they just have to curb the latency issue and, of course, the internet, all that kind of stuff. But I think if anybody can do it, I think Microsoft can. And yes, it's been tried before, but I think, like I said, Microsoft has a lot of tools in its toolbox that will help it in this case.
Well, I think that with streaming, it's not only been tried. I mean, I know on my end, I've used a degree of streaming with PlayStation 4. I've used my Vita. I've used my computer. When I was teaching in a high school, I actually played Jackbox with my students, and I would use my computer to stream on the projector, and we would play Jackbox, and it worked fine. I think that really, in some ways, Xbox. It's about time that Xbox started, putting streaming out there. I mean, I know Nintendo doesn't have a real strong streaming service. I guess they really haven't done anything except they did with Wii U do that streaming to the handheld part of their system, which for me as a dad, I think streaming is really important. If you can play through your phone when your kids are using the TV, when you have different ways to play and kind of work around so everybody can have turns in the TV and all that stuff, I think it's vital. Streaming is really important to have that available. So I think it's great that finally Xbox is getting with the program in terms of streaming, and I think their users deserve it to have an option to where they can play handheld. Now, I will say that I don't particularly like playing handheld on a whatever these things are called, cell phones. I don't know why I blanked on what they're called, but I need something with buttons. I need so I don't think it's going to really hit the Switch people. I use mine on my Vita, but as we all know, Vita is officially dead, even though I use mine. And so I don't know that it's going to take off, go on fire using on a cell phone, but it's still good to have that option when you want to use it.
Well, you're actually you're going to be able to sync your an Xbox controller to your phone, so you can still use the controller. You don't have to use the touch screen controls.
That's true. I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah, and I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so Microsoft is not essentially giving up on consoles as their flagship experience. So we'll still have console systems for quite a while, but this is something where they're just kind of testing the waters to see what the reaction is. And obviously, you're going to have a little bit different experience on a smartphone or a tablet versus on a heavy-hitting console. But the fact that you can take it pretty much anywhere is the big deal. So yeah, I'm glad they're stepping into the ring for it.
For sure.
Lucas.
Hey, is it my turn?
It is.
Great. So before I get into what's new with me, I have to ask Patrick, can you at least give us a title of one song from your band? It's been killing me ever since you gave up on it. I really thought the chicken balking would get you to sing a little, but you don't have to sing. Just give me one title that I can search and find out about this Trivium. Did I say that right?
Yes, it is trivia. It is Trivium.
Because honestly,
yes.
I've never heard of them, and I am intrigued. I like me a little, heavy metal, headbanging music from time to time. Get those juices flowing while I'm washing dishes or driving.
Well, the songs that I have are not the heaviest of it. It's easy intro to get into, get your feet wet with them. One of them is Silence in the Snow, and the other one is A Gray So Dark.
Okay.
So those are the two ones. Yeah. Check them out.
Cool. I will. Now, this is your last chance. You sure you don't want to sing one?
I'm good.
Silence in the Snow. No? Okay.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I like it.
That sounds just like it, right? So,
Exactly.
guys, it's official. I have left the promised land of 1,000 cereals, cheap electronics, and my friends and family back in the US of A. And now I'm officially back in Brazil, the other promised land of only 5 cereals, some overpriced electronics, but just as many friends and some unofficially adopted family. It's great to be back. In fact, when I was trying to travel back, I was supposed to be back yesterday, but I unfortunately hit a few wrinkles, and I was delayed an entire day, much to the chagrin of my wife and kids. They were not happy about it, nor was I. I was ready to get home. As much as I love the U.S., I missed my family. I missed my bed, all those good things. So I had left Columbus, and our plane had been delayed about an hour and a half. So we were going to land at Toronto, and I was going to have about 30 minutes to get through customs. And then all of a sudden, instead of landing, our pilot said, hey, actually he said it more like, excuse me, folks, we're experiencing a little low visibility, and Toronto crew is not allowing us to land at this moment. We're just going to circle for the next 15 minutes. Then 15 minutes passed, and he said, we're going to circle another 15 minutes. I'll update you as soon as I can. And then we circled another 45 minutes, and he was like, folks, due to a lack of fuel, we're going to be landing in Cleveland. And I'm like, Cleveland? In Canada? Cleveland, Canada? You're serious? And so we landed in Cleveland, and I stayed the night in Cleveland. I went to a DoubleTree hotel, a little DoubleTree Marriott or something like that, and stayed the night there. I did actually have a chance to meet and assist a pregnant Brazilian lady named Natalia. She was also going to be traveling to Brazil, and she was not happy about the situation. But fortunately, I was not shy, and I recognized that she was going to Brazil, and I offered to help her. I carried her bags. We went to the same hotel, and we at least were able to just kind of talk about our frustration and look forward to actually getting to Brazil eventually. So it was nice.
Nice.
Before all this drama, I did get to have some quality time with my friends and family in Almost Heaven, West Virginia. It was great. I got to spend quality time with my dad, my mom, sister, and her daughter, my niece, Emma. I did also buy and play an NES Classic, which was
Nice.
so fun. It's been a while since I played the NES, and it's been an even longer time since I played NES with my mom and sister. I don't know if you guys were able to hop on to Facebook or if you had seen some of the videos I posted, but my sister and mom are crazy when they play video games.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, they were like hooping and a hollering, and I recorded all of it. Like, I immediately, after 5 minutes of watching them play, I'm like, I got to use this Facebook Live, and I got to share this with the world. So I think I recorded them for like an hour, and they did not disappoint. They were crazy. I don't know if you guys really get into, when you guys play video games, if you move around and talk to the game or whatever. I don't really. Maybe when I was little, I moved some stuff around, but now when I play, I just sit back, relax, and just enjoy it. But my mom especially does not know how to do that. She has to move her hands around. She has to jump with the character. She has to yell at everything and get super scared as if she is physically like as if she is actually Mario, and those little mushroom men, the Goombas, are coming to eat her or whatever they do to hurt you. It was,
that'd be terrifying.
That would be if it were real life, but I mean, it's 8 bits, man. It's not that it's not that stressful. Actually, my wife she gets very stressed out about video games, so she can't watch us play very much. I played with the kids this evening, and she was just looking at her phone, and she would kind of look up, and then she would just look back at her phone because she gets stressed out just as much as my mom, I think, sometimes. Speaking of gaming, our friend John, or at Sir John 11, asked, what in gaming is different in Brazil than in the U.S.? And given I'm the only person who has played games on both sides of the pond, I'm probably the only one that's going to be able to answer this question. You guys are welcome to make a guess how you think it's different. So anybody have any thoughts or guesses how it's different?
Is the gaming in Portuguese?
Sometimes it is, yes.
The controllers are completely backwards.
They're actually upside down. You move the joystick with your right hand, and you press the button with your left hand. No, it's all the Southern Hemisphere countries. We do everything upside down. So, yeah.
Are your TVs upside down?
Yeah, but the picture, it like moves like on an iPhone.
Oh, so no, however you rotate it, it's still going to be upright?
Exactly. It's really high tech. Okay, no, none of that.
So do your TVs rotate like that?
No. Oh, man, I can't keep going with that. None of that's real. So, John, to answer your question seriously, gaming isn't a whole lot different. I would say that gaming as a whole is really kept in Brazil to young people. A lot of older people here are a little more traditional, and they kind of see gaming as for kids and children. I would say in the U.S. it's a lot more accepted. There's a lot more adults. There are a lot more adults that play video games. So in terms of culturally speaking, I think in the U.S. you're going to have a lot more camaraderie, a lot more, getting families together. Maybe thanks in part to the Wii, in the U.S. Here in Brazil, the Wii was never a good option because it's so expensive. And that's one thing that's different also, is that gaming is so expensive here. However much it costs in the U.S., you can double or triple the price. And that's how much it's going to cost to buy here in Brazil. So there's a lot more pirating that happens than in the U.S., and there's a lot more importing through flights that, as I've discussed before, people fly to the U.S. just to buy electronics and video game consoles and that kind of stuff. So those are just a couple of the differences. Other than that, people enjoy multiplayer. Gamers enjoy playing together and talking about the stories and that kind of stuff, the news, as it were.
Are those the pirates that come to the U.S. ports and steal all the stuff and take it back to Brazil? Like those kind of pirates?
Not exactly, but I have met a couple that have eye patches, so There might be cousins in the
That is legitimate.
pirate world. So for the rest of my time in the U.S., I continue to connect with churches, share with ministry leaders about my mission in and out of Brazil. I enjoyed more of my favorite foods and restaurants. I love me some good old American food sometimes. My mom makes a mean ham loaf. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced the joys of a sweet glazed ham loaf, but it's so good. So very good.
Ham loaf. I get it.
Ironic, isn't it? My middle name Ham. One of my favorite foods, ham loaf. And of course, when I went to every restaurant, regardless if I wanted it or not, I got me a free water, because that does not exist down here in Brazil. You cannot get a free glass of good old-fashioned tap water in Brazil.
Really?
You have to pay for all of it. So when I go to the U.S., I'm like, give me some of that fresh tap water. I can't wait to drink some. Beyond that, I stocked up, of course, on cereals like Lucky Charms and Cocoa Pebbles. I got some candy like Hot Tamales and Twizzlers, sauces, Sweet Baby Ray's, and Frank's Hot Sauce. And, of course, Christmas presents, birthday presents, and all that good stuff. Also, I reconnected with some of my high school buddies. And one of them, on the last day what was supposed to be my last full day in the U.S., my friend Tom had triplets.
Whoa.
Interesting.
Yeah. So to give you a quick background story of this, many, many months ago, my friend Tom, he was my best friend in high school, he and his wife already have a daughter, and they decided they want to have another child. And they had tried for about a year and a half, and nothing happened. And so they're both nurses. They're involved with a hospital in the area. And they thought, let's try the hormone treatment and just see if that helps. We'll just do it one time. If it doesn't work, then we'll move on. And we'll just say, then God doesn't want us to have kids. So they did it, and that's all it took, man. One time. And he found out he was having triplets. And I'm pretty sure he had a nervous breakdown the first time he found out. He called his mom, and he cried. And then I think a few days later, he called me, and he screamed and yelled. He was just like, I had a plan, and God said, ha ha ha, the plan is ruined. Here come 3 more children. And so, when I found that out months ago, I was just like, dude, that is so crazy that happened, but what a blessing. God's letting this happen for a reason. And so when I found out the due date, and then I found out I was going to the U.S., I told my friend, I was like, Tom, wouldn't it be so awesome if I were in West Virginia when you had these kids? And he's like, well, that would be a little early, but if it happens, okay. And tell you what, he wrote me Sunday afternoon and was like, it looks like we're going to be having these kids. And I'm just like, yes, I get to be here. When I had my first child, my friend Tom, he was at the hospital, and he slept in the waiting room until we had our kid. And it took us I say us. I use that term very loosely. It took my wife from the time her water broke until she had my first child, Natasha. It took about 14 hours, I think. And it was not the longest time, but it was definitely a long time. And my friend Tom was there the whole time. So I always wanted to repay the favor. And when he had his first daughter, I was in Brazil. But this time when I found out he was having those triplets, I dropped everything and I went over to that hospital and saw him, saw some of his family, and got to see those 3 beautiful girls. And
Nice.
it was awesome news to hear, and it was awesome to be a part of it.
Awesome.
So, with that being said, I actually want to roll into our topic. Does that sound good to you guys?
Let's do it.
Sounds great.
Go for it.
Let's do it. As I was looking at those 3 beautiful girls, those little preemie babies, I was thinking about how blessed they were, and how in our day and age, when we were little, when we were being born, I was actually a preemie. I was born a month early. Situations like that, being born early, being in those tough medical situations, they were really scary. But nowadays, I think with all of our technological advancements and all the things that are happening or that have happened in even the last 5 to 10 years, a lot of people just go with it because they have a lot more education. They have a lot more technology that helps with this kind of stuff. And I was also thinking about how these 3 little girls, they're never going to know a world without cell phones. They're never going to know a world without Facebook or social media. And it just got me to thinking about us as, older guys. And actually, I was talking with my dad during one of our only Saturday morning breakfast we've had in quite a few years. We were talking, and I was sharing with him how, my generation and maybe one generation or two after, we're some of the last generations to be fully immersed in the age without cell phones, without some of these current technologies that we've just grown used to. And yet at the same time, we've also fully experienced life with them as well. So it got me to thinking about technology and also my childhood, where I remember some of the technological advances that happened when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, and they were like truly mind-blowing. And in the process of reminiscing on some of my experiences, I got almost technologically nostalgic. I don't know if I can say that, but I got technologically nostalgic for the past. Have you guys ever been there before?
Absolutely.
So, but so since we're all around the same age or within 10 years of each other, I think, Mark, you're the baby in the room. I think you.
Yeah, I guess I am the baby.
You're around 29, 30, right?
I'm 30, yeah.
Yeah, so we're all.
Oh, I'm also 30, so
Yeah.
this could be
Oh, that's right.
Oh, fight for it.
Who's the baby? No, but we're all within 10 years of each other. Maybe considered a part of different generations, but I think we can all relate to this kind of technological nostalgia. So I thought it would be cool for us to talk about technology, maybe share how it's affected us over the years from childhood into adulthood, our favorite and least favorite technological advances, how it's made life easier, more difficult, all those kind of things. So, gentlemen, when did you realize technology was just awesome? And what are some of the first technological encounters or advances you remember as a kid or teenager? Now, to give you a moment to collect your thoughts, because maybe you didn't get a chance to think about this, super listener Chad, at Chad Fackler 1, wanted to share. So I know I'm old, this is what he says on Twitter, but my first car actually had an 8-track player in it, and my first PC used a cassette drive as well as a 5.25 floppy. What were your first media formats for music and data? And you can skip records, as we all probably had those in our house at the time. So share about any kind of technology. It can be data, it can be music, it can be anything.
I remember when I was a kid, I actually had, it was this old Apple computer. It was an Apple IIe, which is basically, it came out in the 80s. It was from the second series of personal computers that Apple came out with. I think it was before the Macintosh was introduced. And I think my parents got it from like my mom's cousin or something like that. It was one of those, it's one of those old computers where the CRT screen was like, it's just black and green font.
Oh, I totally remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was old school as all get out, and I played with that as much as I could. There were some big old floppy disk games and stuff that I could play with. Like I think Pitfall was one of those games.
Math Munchers? Was there one called Math Munchers, I think?
I did not have Math Munchers, and if I did, I think I would have burned it because anything to do with math is of the devil.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I used to play with that all the time. My parents used to tell me all the time that like if there was a button I could push, I would try to push it just to see what it would do because I enjoyed doing anything with technology and learning about different kinds of technology. Now, when I was a kid, that was learning the VCR and learning how to program that. And of course the Apple IIe and all that kind of stuff. And I think I had a Walkman or two when I was a kid.
Nice.
So that was for me. That was during the time of cassettes, tape cassettes, and stuff like that. We didn't have records so much. My mom actually had a whole bunch of like Beatles records that I discovered and unfortunately destroyed.
Uh,
So,
ouch.
yeah, because I had fun with the record player trying to play it backwards and forwards and at extra speeds and all that kind of stuff, and that kind of ruins the vinyl.
It
So,
does just a little bit.
but yeah, but yeah, that was some of the earliest stuff, and I remember I had like this old karaoke machine that I would, and it had a double tape deck on it, and I would, turn the radio on. And this is the old school way, I would record songs from the radio.
I remember doing that
and,
too.
and yeah, and then listen back to them, and I did all sorts of stuff like doing like overdubbing and stuff with the double tape deck, and I would record myself like doing, like pretending I was a DJ and that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah,
Marky
did
Mark
that
the
silly-
DJ.
Yeah. I totally didn't call myself that, but
You should have.
Uh, well, I'll go back and tell like 8, 9-year-old me that I should have done that. But
Just take the Tartarus back. You can find it.
it makes me sad every time you say that. But anyway, but yeah, those were my biggest ways of sort of taking in media, whether it be by music, or data like the computer and stuff like that. And then I had the VCR, of course, which, you could like record stuff off the TV with the VCR and all that kind of stuff. But anytime I could try to experiment with technology, that was a big thing for me. So, Patrick, how about you? What type of stuff did you have here when you were a kid?
The number one mind-blowing technological advancement was when your home phone, the landlines that no one has anymore, had call waiting.
Oh, yes.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh! When you're a kid and you're trying to talk to your friends, your mom or your dad's like, "Hey, get off the phone because I'm expecting a call." So you could never really have a long conversation with anyone because you get that busy signal. But once you got that call waiting, whew, didn't matter anymore.
Absolutely.
Man, I totally forgot about
That's
that.
the one.
Nice.
Yeah, right. Because it's second nature now. Once you get a call, it's like, oh, I'm getting another call, and everyone it's part of nature now.
Yeah.
But yeah, not back in the day, man. That was awful because having like one phone in one house and everyone had to share it.
Yeah.
So when you're a teenager and you have to share phones with two older brothers that are in the house and a younger sister, it's like, oh my gosh, everyone's trying to vie for the phone. So once we got call waiting, that was actually a mind-blowing experience.
Along with that, caller ID, man. Not only call waiting, but when you could have call waiting and you could see who was calling, and you could be like, oh, I don't want to talk to that person, or you could say, hey mom, somebody's trying to call you. Like, you could just tell them, or you could just totally ignore a phone call. Along with that, being able to identify who was calling you, I thought that was mind blowing for me.
Oh yeah, I remember when I was a kid, the biggest thing for me, it was so cool, was discovering the whole like conference call feature, like the party line kind of thing. I don't know if you guys ever had that.
Yeah, DJ Marky Mark,
like,
DJ Marky Mark with his party line.
Oh yeah, all day, all night. But yeah, just the fact that you could have multiple people in the same phone conversation. Now, granted, I guess that costs extra money.
Yeah, it did. I never had that. I never knew that. I never knew that was a thing.
Yeah, and my parents got mad because I was racking up the phone bill doing that. So
nice.
But I still thought that was the coolest thing ever. And here we are today on a Google Hangout across the world from each other, doing pretty much the same thing. But
for sure.
Yeah.
Ronnie, how about you, buddy?
When I knew we were going to talk about this, I was thinking back at like what technology stood out to me as a kid. The first thing that I thought of, and this is kind of a bizarre one, and surprised that I'm actually going to go with like a video game here, is the 2D game Tanks on the computer. Did you guys ever play that? So me and my cousins used to play that like nonstop all the time. I actually downloaded it like a year ago on my phone, and it's like the same exact 2D crappy tank game. Another one that really stuck out, kind of going back to the phones, is when you didn't have to use your phone line for the internet anymore.
Yes.
So
Preach it.
tying up that phone line was the absolute worst. To pick up and try to call somebody, and somebody else in your family's on the computer. Like, oh man, it's the worst sound ever that you get in your ear.
Kind of reminds me of Dumb and Dumber. Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
I think that's exactly right.
Yes. Well, actually,
so that was awesome.
Nice. Well,
Yeah, I remember when I was when I was a kid. It used to drive me up a wall. I would always try to call my best friend who was like down the street from me. You know, I'd try to call, and his parents were like constantly on the internet. And so every time I was trying to get a hold of him, see if I could like come over or whatever, the line would be busy all the time. And I finally just ended up taking my bike and going over to the house. I'm like, I don't care if they tell me no. I just need to know an answer. Can I come over or not?
you had to do some
Send over
smoke
a carrier
signals.
pigeon.
Yeah, carrier pigeon or smoke
Yeah.
signals. Well, you know, that was for me. You guys bring up the internet. That for me was one of the technological advances that blew my mind. I just remember. I still remember first connecting to AOL and hearing that. Welcome, you've got mail. Like just hearing that AOL voice. Did you guys have AOL?
Yes.
I did.
I mean, who didn't have AOL? I remember, like, for years thinking the only way to connect to the internet was through AOL. When people would tell me they used Internet Explorer, I'm like, oh, that's like black market stuff. You're supposed to go through AOL. I remember thinking that when I was a kid. Like, I was so dedicated to AOL. And I remember in using AOL, I remember when I first discovered chat rooms. Did you guys ever? Did you guys
the
ever go
instant
to
messenger,
sports?
man.
Instant Messenger.
No. I'm not talking about instant messenger. That's the newer stuff. I'm talking about chat rooms, like where you would find a room for young and beautiful men, for example, or young and beautiful women. Like you go into a chat room and there's just random people in there from all over the United States. Did you guys do that? Because I did.
Yeah, I think they started out with that in just regular AOL, and they kind of adapted that into AIM.
Right.
Into Instant
Well, yeah,
Messenger.
but AIM was always directed at like a certain person. Like they used to just have like it was almost just like special rooms that were based on, hey, if you like I don't know, a certain TV show, or if you were looking like to go on a digital date with someone, like you'd go to these chat rooms and you could just be whoever you wanted to be. So I remember me and my buddies, we would go in these chat rooms and we'd be like, yeah, I'm 30 years old and I play basketball and I like walks on the beach and all this stuff. And you're like trying to talk to girls or who you think is a girl, you know, for all we know, it's just a bunch of guys talking to each other, acting like some acting like they were like older men.
They were
some
acting
guys,
like the girl.
Yeah, exactly. It was so crazy. And you would just go in there and you just make up your own story. And I just remember doing that. Now, do you guys remember what was your first AOL or AIM name?
See, the funny thing is, like, I didn't have AOL at first. I actually started with CompuServe. If you ever heard of that.
I remember hearing about them back in the day. One of those fake people, the black market.
Fake news.
Fake. There was
Fake
only
news.
AOL. Fake news.
Yeah, we had CompuServe. I remember my dad had bought this this desktop computer, I think from Circuit City, which that should take you back to.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Circuit City.
Yeah, I think he bought it from Circuit City or something like, or maybe it was Walmart. I don't remember, but he bought the thing and he got so many rebates on the thing because he didn't want to pay like a whole bunch of money for a computer, and I think it was like $700-800 computer, and he only ended up paying like $100.
I will give you $1 for this computer.
But yeah, he got so much money back in rebates. That was the only way he was gonna buy it. But yeah, so we got that computer, and it came with a subscription to CompuServe, and I don't know if I want to share my first screen name.
Come on. If it's inappropriate for children,
Marky Mark.
we can tell them to fast forward 30 seconds.
It's not inappropriate for children.
All right, then
it's
come
just
on.
embarrassing.
Nah, that's what this is all about, my friend.
Oh,
Transparency.
Okay.
That's right.
So basically, and I'm gonna get lambasted for this for the entirety of this podcast.
I can't wait.
Tartarus.
So
Never been.
no,
worse,
it was
that
not. It was not. The suspense is building, isn't it?
Senor Tartarus.
No, it was not
Captain
that.
Tartarus.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay, so in order for this screen name to make sense to you at all, I kind of have to give some backstory.
Of course
basically, when I was born, I was born very tiny. I think I was like 6 pounds, or something like that.
Me too, brother. Preemies for life.
Yeah. And so my dad used to call me Munchkin when I was a kid, and my big thing, like I always wanted to have like burgers, like cheeseburgers all the time. Like whenever I wanted something to eat, I wanted a burger all the time. So he kind of combined the two things, and he would call me Munchka Burger. And so my first screen name, which I did not choose, he made, was Munch One Burger.
Why not 2 burgers or 3? Munch 3 burgers.
Well, it probably told him you need to have a number in here, so he's just hit 1. But
Munch 1 burger.
yeah,
All right.
Munch One Burger.
Nice. All right. How about the rest of you guys?
I thought when you said I was born tiny, I was like, oh my god, it's Tiny Dancer. This is awesome.
Oh, because a tiny dancer.
Well, you're not singing that right. It's all because young Tony Dancer.
Oh, well, pardon me. Oh, wait.
So what about the rest of you guys? Did you have early screen names you want to share?
Yeah, I used to use Maverick. I was like big into Top Gun, like when I was a kid.
Nice.
And I used that basically all throughout all of my childhood. That was like my gamer ID when we played anything.
Nice.
Yeah, so mine was Kid Novi, and the reason why I was Kid Novi is my older brother. His nickname was Novi, and it was around when Kid Rock was like huge.
Yeah.
So I kind of like put those together. So I was Kid Novi.
I was thinking
My name is Kid.
I was thinking that sounded like a good wrestler name, like here comes Kid Novi. Oh, pile drives him.
Comes off the turnbuckle with the Hurricanrana.
Well, ironically enough, my very first screen name was Mr. Ham. I was the ripe old age of 11. This was probably 1993 or 92. No, actually, I was around 11. And it was Mr. Ham, but where my name got interesting was the inappropriate numbers that I put after it, which I will not explain, just in case we have children listening. But it was Mr. Ham 6933, and that is all I will say. So, moving on.
Was it Mr. Ham because you were trying to look like you were 30 years old?
Yes.
Threw the Mr. in front of it.
And of course, I put the inappropriate numbers because only adults would use inappropriate numbers as a screen name.
That's exactly
That's
right.
exactly right. So.
Wait, hold on. You were 11? Man.
I was 11 or 12. Totally. Yeah. That's why they should not allow 11 and 12-year-olds to have their own screen names. So.
I think we're way past that now.
Yeah, we really are.
I can imagine growing up in the day and age we are right now, where anything is at the touch of your fingertips.
I can't either, man.
No way.
It's crazy. So there were a couple more technological advances that I want to mention because they really they were just so impactful in my life. The second one I want to bring up besides the internet, I don't know if you guys remember the first time you got cable, but I remember crystal clear the day, what I had been doing that day, and when my dad revealed the cable box. To that point, we had an old television, that had the dials on the front that you clicked, like click, 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 the 13 channels or 12, 13 channels, however many there were.
And the number U or the letter U on it.
Yeah, That who knows? I still to this day have no idea what the U channel was. Maybe it was like channel F.
Good callback.
Channel U. But I remember my family and I had just gotten back from the first time going to Disney World, and when we got back, there was like a towel or a sheet over top of our television. I was like, why in the world did someone put a bed sheet over our television? Well, my dad pulled it off and was like, look, cable.
It's like a magic show.
Yeah, and I was just like, what's cable?
And the heavens parted and the angels were singing.
And I was like, what's cable? And he's like, we have 35 channels. And I'm like, what? 35 channels? And he started to go through all the channels, and there's just all these channels I'd never heard of before, like Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, and my mind was blown, and I never looked back. I remember years later, after the cable box, my dad got a satellite. Now, I'm not talking like Dish Network, DirecTV satellite. I'm talking like full-on space satellite, the kind where you had to change the position of the satellite in order to watch different channels. So like there would be like 7 or 8 different positions you could put the satellite in. Did you guys ever have this or hear about this before?
No.
Oh man, I'm about to blow your mind. So before DirecTV and Dish Network, there were full-scale satellites that you could install for your home viewing, and you pretty much had a satellite that you, on each angle that it would point, you would have like 10 to 15 channels, and you would have like Cinemax, you'd have HBO, you'd have Home and Garden, HGTV, like some of the ones that we still have today. But in order to switch your different areas, you would have to press a button, and you could hear the satellite going. And my friends and I, at like 13, 14 years old, we would change the position of the satellite and then run outside and just watch it move. And it was so cool. I felt like I lived at like NASA headquarters. Like it was the coolest thing in the world. And I didn't know anybody else that had that. So of course my friends would come over and just be like, let's move the satellite. And we would move the satellite. Then we would watch, movies and shows and all that, cartoons and all that fun stuff.
I didn't even know that existed.
That totally existed. But
I did imagine when you were describing it, somebody like you running out into the rain and just cranking this huge satellite by hand to move positions.
Exactly. And we would go to the satellite position all the way to the left, and then we would move it all the way to the right, and then just run outside and watch it. Like, we would just watch it move, and we're like, that is so cool. And then after like an hour, somebody would be like, can we actually watch TV? We're like, I guess, if we have to.
And that's what they did for fun in West Virginia.
That's right, buddy. We really knew how to have fun in West Virginia. Now, the last one I want to mention is another that, again, blew my mind. And I don't know if you guys experienced this. I think all of us experienced VHS.
Mm-hmm.
And all of us have experienced DVD and Blu-ray, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Have you ever experienced Laserdisc?
I have heard fables of such a thing, but I have never actually seen it.
Well, let me tell you, my friends, it was real. It was so real. And I would say at least for 2 years, it felt like more, but it was probably only about a year or two. My dad and I were religious. No, we were not religious. We religiously used Laserdisc. Like, we rented Laserdisc. And let me tell you, when you rent Laserdisc, it cost like $50 back in the day to rent a Laserdisc.
Oh my gosh.
They were, and it cost $100 to buy them. Like, they were super expensive. If you don't know what a Laserdisc is, it's pretty much a DVD on steroids, and it's the size of a record, but it's shiny, and you put it into this huge box called a Laserdisc player. And I mean, these Laserdisc players, it was like the in-between VHS and DVD. These Laserdisc players, they weighed at least 8, 9, 10 pounds. And the Laserdiscs themselves, they weighed about 1.5 pounds, if not 2 pounds. So they were huge. And I remember, watching movies on them, and they always had two sides because a Laserdisc, as big as they were, they could never fit the whole movie on one side. So halfway through the movie, all of a sudden the movie would stop, and it would say it was changing sides. And that, again, was always, like, for some people, like my mom, it was the potty break time. She'd be like, okay, I'm going to the bathroom while it changes sides. Or someone would get a drink or more popcorn or something. But I remember when I was younger, my dad would be like, did you know that the disc is actually shrinking and they're flipping it within the disc player? And I'm ashamed to say for the first 5 minutes he told me that, I actually believed him. Because I was that kid that believed almost anything. And then immediately I was like, wait, 5 minutes later. Immediately 5 minutes later. I was like, that's not true. And for a few years after that, I still had doubts. But that was a technological advance that a lot of people didn't get to experience, but I did. And it was definitely a crazy thing. So now that we're in the present, I wanted to ask you a question that came for our listener and friend, Gabriel, at Gabe Pavao. He wants to know, if you guys could bring back one technology from your childhood to use today, even if it would be outdated, but mainly for nostalgia purposes, what would it be and why?
Zach Morris phone.
Nice.
I would want to bring that back.
Man.
It does not fit in your pocket. It's so big,
So
but
huge.
man, I've always wanted one, and I never had one,
It's
and I would just
huge.
love to have that.
The Zach Morris phone. That's hilarious.
It is not useful in any sense, but I would
Not
still
at
love to
all.
have it.
Not at all.
Mine is on the same topic of phones, but I went with the Nextel push-button walkie-talkie style phone,
Okay.
where you could just instantly connect to like your buddies. I thought that
Yeah.
was like the coolest thing when I was younger.
That is cool.
How about you, Mark?
Actually, when I was a kid, the one thing that I wanted, I actually never had when I was a kid, but I saw Home Alone 2, and the one thing that I wanted that I wish I could have now, even though it's totally outdated, is that Talk Boy thing that he has in the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I would love to have one of those simply for nostalgia reasons and the fact that like you could manipulate your voice. And I know they had kind of like those little yak back toys when we were kids, kind of similar to that, but like you could manipulate your voice and obviously record stuff and this is Peter McAllister, the father, and that kind of stuff. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, those were really awesome. I always wanted to have one of those. I actually never had one, but they were really cool. I'd say for me, it would have to be, it would have to be those little portable TVs. I don't know if you guys ever had those little portable TVs that used an antenna that you could you had channels and stuff. It was like an old school TV. Except it was hand size.
Yes. Was it one of those with the dial? Not really a dial, but like a little scroll on the right hand side.
It was like a TV radio or something like. Just
I remember having one of those. And it wasn't. It was like how big was it? Like 3 inches?
Oh yeah,
like
no, it was no bigger than
thing
3 or
was
4
like
inches.
Huge.
Yeah, the body of it was huge, kind of like the Zach Morris phone, but it had this little screen, and I think it's just the sheer delight of discovering something. You have no idea what you're going to see, what channel, as it were, what channel you're going to run into. Like nowadays, we can DVR everything. We can look up, TV Guide isn't a thing, but we can look up on the internet what's coming up, or we can just choose to watch whatever we want. There's no discovery when it comes to watching TV anymore. So, to have one of those again, and what's cool is it's portable. So, I remember being at camp and just having one of those. For whatever reason, I just decided to bring it one camp, and we weren't supposed to bring that stuff, but we brought it anyways. And late at night, we would all just gather around this little 3-inch screen, and we would just watch whatever came on. I mean, it wasn't like crazy stuff. It was just sometimes it was sports, sometimes it was soap operas, sometimes it was news, sometimes it was reruns of Cheers or something. Real old Nick at Night stuff. So
just being able to watch it was that just exciting.
Yeah.
In itself.
Yeah, just the discovery of it. So it was cool. Good question, Gabriel. Thanks for.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks for that. So, I think none of us can deny that technology has impacted our lives, but we could argue the fact that sometimes it's positive and sometimes it's negative. So, I want you guys to share what are some of the technologies and advancements from childhood when you were an adolescent into adulthood that you think have positively and negatively impacted your life. We can focus on different areas if you like, maybe to help kind of keep it more focused. For example, in your day-to-day life, what kind of technologies do you think have positively or negatively impacted you or impacted society in general? We can go big on this one and talk about things we've observed in society.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. I think one of the major things, and probably everybody would say the same, but just the cell phone in general. I mean, basically the cell phone, no matter where you're at, whether you're at work, wherever. I mean, you can be constantly connected to everybody. That could be your friends, your family. Just having that constant connection is, I mean, it does have positives and negatives, both, like, I guess, on both ends of the spectrum.
For sure.
You're sitting on your cell phone at work, not getting any work done, but you're also connecting with your family, your friends. So there's a positive on that as well.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways the phone has definitely been an advancement that's helped a lot of people. It's not just a phone, it's your calendar, it's your way of accessing information, like through the internet. It's your way of just doing all sorts of different things in your day-to-day life. And it certainly helps. Like, this is my phone's even my alarm to wake up in the morning. And so it's basically become this huge multi-purpose tool that helps us to basically get through the day. And in the same way, as much as it's a blessing, it's also a curse. Because I think in a lot of ways, we know what it's like to not have a cell phone, so we can still interact and have that kind of face-to-face conversation. But I think a lot of kids today, they're down in their phone. It's harder and harder for people to have interactions face-to-face because we're so glued to these phones and what they do for us. And plus, another big blessing and also a curse is, excuse me, is the rise of social media. It's a way of keeping everybody connected. It's Facebook I use to keep in touch with people that are not close to me at all. They're a far distance away, but I can still keep connected to their life and see what they're up to. But at the same time, like, everybody's got an opinion and everybody is just so negative in terms of social media, and people's opinions and their negative reactions are constantly in your face. And I think that really drives up just the negative emotions of our society as a whole. And so, there have been plenty of points where I've kind of wanted to delete social media just because, I just get tired of people being so negative and so cynical just right off the bat. There's no benefit of the doubt. There's no, let's start at the baseline of civility. It's just, we're all going to be trolls. And so I think that's something that's really affected our society. But at the same time, I try to look at the positives, the way that, we're able to keep connected and also use it as a means to market ourselves. I mean, we certainly do that as a podcast. We're using technology right now to be able to put ourselves out there. Yeah, it's mind blowing. We use social media to plug our podcast. We've got things in motion to where you can constantly keep connected to us, and so I think there's awesome things about it, but there's also some dark sides to it.
Yeah, I had thought about that also, just that idea that we can share life with each other. I mean, there's never been a day and age where you can be connected with what everybody's doing. If they post a picture, you can see it, you can talk about it, you talk about the negative side, but I think even on the positive side, there's a lot of trolls and there's a lot of negative people giving their opinions, being negative in terms of politics and the condition of the world. But at the same time, there's a lot of people sharing like their vacations and sharing, all kinds of things that are positive. There's also things that are meaningless, like there are people that just share random stuff that they see and think. And sometimes it could be, I know for me, I have a hard time just with the sheer amount of information that's out there. I just can't keep up with everybody's business. There's a lot of people that I care about and that I want to connect with, but I just can't keep up with it. Like, I can't do my job. I can't, keep connected with my family on a personal level. I can't, keep connected with entertainment and stuff, and also keep connected with what every single person's doing, everything they post. I just can't see it all. So sometimes I have to disconnect just to quit like taking in so much input, as Johnny Five would say. Like there's just too much input sometimes. So I think that's a negative thing, regardless of if it's positive or negative. It's just so much information, and sometimes I just want to find out information face to face with someone. I don't want to always find out through Facebook about momentous occasions in their life. I don't want to read about it. I want to kind of feel their emotion, hear them talk about it, get connected. And I think that's part of the reason I like podcasts so much, because you get a little more of that emotion involved. You're not just reading what someone feels about politics or how great their life is or anything like that. I really don't want to get to a point where I'm like, well, I read it on Facebook, so I don't have to ask somebody personally about stuff. I can just rely on Facebook to find out my information. I don't want it to replace my personal connection with people. So that's kind of a negative side of the social media that I see.
Sure, absolutely. Patrick, what are you thinking about it?
Well, for me, going back to what you said about podcasts. So I love heavy metal music. And what I used to do when I was driving to work is I would listen to this heavy metal music. And heavy metal music gets my adrenaline up, gets my blood pressure up, but it also makes me kind of angry. Whenever traffic hit, it would make me upset, mad that I wasn't getting to work in a timely manner. All these drivers out here are getting in my way. And it was about, I don't know, 6 years ago, I started listening to podcasts, and podcasts have really, and I was listening to podcasts that interested me. It was video games and sports. And when I started to listen to these podcasts on my way to work, instead of listening to this heavy metal music, my blood pressure was back down. It didn't make me upset anymore. When I was on my way to work, I was listening to the newest video games or a review of a video game or what's going on in the sports world, how the Reds are doing, how the Bengals are doing, or how the NFL is doing. And when I was in my car, I didn't care about traffic anymore. I didn't care that I wasn't getting to work in a timely manner. I didn't really care that there was cars on the road, because I was listening to something that I was very, very interested in. There were stories in there. There were, the video games and all that, but it was, I kind of wanted there to be traffic so I could listen to more of this podcast. Yep. So since I've been doing that for 6 years, I kind of fell out of a lot of music. I've found more podcasts to listen to, whether I'm at home or in my car, because just listening to people talk about stuff that I'm very, very interested in has really calmed my nerves. Has really lowered my temper and how temperamental I get. So I started listening to these podcasts, and then I started listening to this Married to the Games podcast, and that's how we met. Lucas, Marc, and I. That's how we met. Is through a podcast, and we wouldn't be doing what we are doing right now if it wasn't for all three of us listening to this podcast. So it's really cool how something that as little as that, where I switched from listening to music to listening to a podcast, led to us to this day today. So where we're just talking about podcasts, where we're talking about what we love and what we enjoy, talking about our childhood. It's really, really cool how all that worked. And it's a very, very positive impact on my life. With podcasts. So it's very cool for me going from listening to podcasts to actually doing podcasts in the meantime. So it's really, really cool.
That's great, man. I've had the similar experience for sure. I can't tell you how many times I dreaded doing the dishes when I was first living on my own and when I first got married. I made the deal with my wife. Okay, if you cook, I'm going to clean. But when I discovered podcasts too, all of a sudden I'm like, yep, I'll wash the dishes. I'm on it. And when
takes the pain away.
Yeah, it just makes it. And my wife makes fun of me sometimes. She's like, "Can't you just work in silence?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to, because if I work in silence, sometimes it just makes it go slower. Sometimes I like to pray while I'm doing other things, but even when I'm praying, sometimes I'm trying so hard to focus on what I'm saying and like focusing on God that it actually becomes dangerous. With podcasts, I can just listen and I can absorb the information, and it's like Patrick said, it can be almost soothing. It can be a way of escapism, but at the same time, you're connecting with someone. You're not just escaping. You're kind of making better use of your time, I think, with podcasts. I still appreciate music, of course, but yeah. Anybody have anything else? Anything that's impacted that you want to share?
Can't really think of anything.
I want to give a quick shout out to Central Air. I think that's a wonderful technological advance. Now that I've lived in a country where Central Air is not a thing, that some banks and malls and big businesses have Central Air, but there are no homes with Central Air, no homes with insulation. So I greatly appreciate that technology and the ability to control the temperature within your house. Now I have windows, and that's about the only way I can control the temperature. I also have fans, which help circulate the air, but really, if it's hot, fans just blow around hot air, and that's not really that great. It's not that much better than hot air not moving. So shout out to Central Air. I miss you.
For sure. And I got one thing I want to add before we get off here. We got a late question in on Twitter this week, and it is from @QuestforPixels.
Yeah.
And they are asking a sports question, actually. This might be our first sports question popping in here. Says, should the Cowboys have gone for it on 4th down?
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
Yes, they should have. It was 4th and 1, and if you can't get 1 yard, then you deserve to lose the game.
True that.
All right.
You play to win, not to lose.
Well, I watched the game on Sunday night, and it was so. I'm gonna give you the scenario of this. So it was the Cowboys versus the Texans. It was 4th and 1, and they were on Houston's 42-yard line. So they're on the other side of the field. They only got 42 yards to a touchdown. So it's 4th and 1. It's overtime, and their defense not doing too well up to this point. I mean, they had given up over 400 yards at this point. And they had the decision: do they punt it or do they go for it? So let's before we find out what they did, 1 week earlier, the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys says this after he went for it on 4th and 1 against the Detroit Lions. He said, when you have a belief in the guys up front and you hand the ball to number 21, who is Ezekiel Elliott, could be, arguably the best running back in the NFL, and you feel good about that, that's really where the decision making starts. So he went for it on 4th and 1. Now, I looked at a couple other stats. So the Cowboys, under Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, the quarterback and the running back, since they've been together and they've gone for it on 4th and 1, they have converted it 94.7% of the time. That is better than the point afters over the last 2 seasons for all of the NFL teams at 93.6%. They're better on 4th and 1 than the kickers are to kick the extra point. That's how crazy that is. So their decision was, you know what? We're going to punt it. They punted it, and then Houston marches right down the field and scores, and they win. Dallas Cowboys lose because they didn't go for it on 4th and 1. Stats said they should. The head coach did it the previous week, didn't do it this time, and it cost him.
Yep, got it.
So yes, he should have gone for it.
Got it.
Based upon all that information and despite my ignorance, I'm going to say yes, they should have gone for it.
Yeah, you got to have confidence in your boys at that point. Quest for Pixels Gaming, thank you. Quest for Pixels, thank you for that sports question. Speaking of sports,
thank you.
I think that's another technological advancement that we are thankful for, is just the ability to watch the game and also instant replay and the ability to, make the right call just in case the referees screw up. Because I think we can all agree that referees, they have a hard job and sometimes they screw up. And so to have that to fall back on is a great technological advancement. To wrap up our technological discussion, I want to know, guys, is there any technology you can't live without?
It's pretty much been the smartphone for me. It helps plan my day. It helps coordinate basically my start of the day. It helps me get in contact with people. It helps me pass the time. All that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would rather not go without my phone.
You know what? I would say the phone too, but since you already said that, I'm going to say my video game systems.
Ooh,
Boom!
yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you.
That was my second choice.
I would definitely go with the phone. I am on my phone constantly. Like I am completely I'm completely a slave to my phone. I mean, as soon as it goes off, it's like I got to check the message.
Got to check
So
it.
I'm definitely on Team Mark.
Well, I lived a week without my cell phone in the Amazon, and it actually was very freeing to not be to be disconnected and to just enjoy what was going on around me. On the other hand, the technology I can't live without is a washer and a dryer and a refrigerator.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Those are basic technologies that we truly take advantage of, because I've had moments living in Brazil where I've not had a functioning washer and dryer, and also moments in Brazil when I've not had a functioning refrigerator. And let me tell you, when you're living day to day and you can't keep food cold, it's really tough. And when you have to wash your clothes by hand and then you have to wait for it to dry, there's not much more I have to say about it. When you experience it, you truly understand that it's technology you can't live without. So for me, it would be those things.
I mean, that does sound really bad, but I mean, what if somebody messages you and you can't get your message? Sounds worse.
They can find another way to get in contact with me if they really want to talk to me. So that's all I can say about that. So we've gotten to the end. Time for some good morning inspiration. You guys, Mark maybe has some music. Maybe we have some inspirational thoughts. I will say that I have a few dad jokes to share in the technological department. So if you could lend me your ears, I just have a few to share with you. Hopefully you'll like them, because I know that I did. So first one is this. Did you hear that Uncle Joe dropped a computer on his toe?
No.
He says it megahertz. But my dad came into the living room once, and he put his laptop on the radiator and said, "Dang it, it's frozen again."
Oh.
These are the best.
No.
A man was at his doctor, and he said, "Hey, doctor, I need your help. I'm addicted to checking my Twitter." And the doctor said, "I'm sorry, I don't follow."
New age dad there, man.
That's a good one.
All right, then the
Nice.
last one. My computer suddenly started belting out "Someone Like You." It's Adele.
Good ones.
That's all I got, guys, for a little laugh.
Nice. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give out my musical suggestions for your Good Morning playlist. And just as a reminder, we do have a Good Morning Guys morning playlist on Spotify, so you can go ahead and search that out. I'm always adding to it each and every week, so check that out and make that a part of your morning, as well as the podcast. But this week, 3 songs that I have chosen for you to check out would be, first of all, I encourage you, if you haven't listened to it, to check out 21 Pilots' new album. It's called Trench. It's a great album. I listened to it. Just fantastic. They do a great job. Those guys are actually from Columbus, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah.
They're pretty popular down here in Brazil.
Nice. But the song I'm actually going to recommend is one of their older songs. It's a song called Ride. And it's just got this chill kind of reggae vibe to it. And with some rock flavor as well. But I think it's a good start to the day kind of thing. So definitely check that out. Also, I have Sirius XM in my car. And so recently they've kind of been doing this temporary thing where they've had a channel dedicated to Billy Joel, and I've been listening to that, and it's been interesting to listen to a lot of his commentaries on his songs and his inspiration for why he wrote songs the way he did. But in any case, the next song I'm going to recommend is a classic from him, and I'm sure all our New York listeners will love this. It's a song he wrote called "New York State of Mind." It's just Billy Joel at his best. He is a master of the piano, and it's just a phenomenal song. And I would definitely recommend it. And the third song I'm going to recommend is from one of my favorite artists, current artists, I should say. It's a gentleman by the name of John Mayer. He's an incredible musician, and I think a good song to kind of be chill and get your morning started is a song off his album Continuum. It's a song called "The Heart of Life." It's very very chill, very broken down, simplified. He's basically just got some nice, cool electric guitar, very little percussion or anything like that, and it's just recognizing that despite all the negativity and hardships that we may face in life, that life is still beautiful and it's still great to experience.
Cool, man.
So he says, "I know the heart of life is good." So those songs will be in the Good Morning playlist, and I encourage you to go check that out. Anybody else?
I just had one quick question to follow up. This is to Patrick. Is the Chevy Nova your favorite car only because of your last name or because you actually like the car?
Good question.
It's a coincidence, but yes, it is because I like the car, not because of the name.
But
Cool.
that adds to it, right?
It definitely does.
Bonus!
Coincidence. That's Joe incidence with a C.
There's no small coincidences. There's no big coincidences. There's just coincidences.
True that. All right. Well, that's all for this morning. Again, if you would like to communicate with us, our friends and listeners, and participate in the show by asking questions, suggesting future nicknames or topics, there are a number of ways to go beyond listening. You're welcome to connect with us as a podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, The Good Morning Guys, or at the GMG Podcast, and also personally at
Nova Beyond on Twitter.
At Ronnie Johannes on Twitter.
At Musique829 on Twitter.
And I am at MTTG Brazil Team on Twitter, also Lucas Ham Swisher on Facebook, and Pastor Ham on Twitch, which I will be starting up again this coming week, that good old Twitch streaming. Beyond that, remember to subscribe and keep downloading our weekly podcast every Thursday or afternoon on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Oh, and Spotify, of course. Also, if you get a little moment to show some love, rate us on iTunes and maybe even write a little review. For some technological reason, it helps us connect with strangers and others seeking to connect and make use of their time while they wash dishes and commute to work. Think of it like writing a pen pal, but digitally. All right. Isn't that sweet? All right. My podcasting brothers and sisters, listeners, friends, and family, go get your good morning this week. May God bless you, guide your lives as you live, work, and game. Sayonara. See you next week. And make sure to spay and neuter your pets, especially those darn gerbils.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I don't know what to do with that last one.
What? Yet? Why do you have to spay them?
You don't want them to reproduce. They are dirty little creatures.
Do you ever have just like in a cage? How do you do that?
I mean,
why would you do that?
I said to make sure you get them spayed and neutered. I didn't say I was going to spay and neuter them. I have no idea how you do that.
That's good to know. I'm glad you have no experience in that area.
I'm gonna call my vet tomorrow. I'm gonna call my vet tomorrow and be like, "Hey,
I
do
want
you
to
spay or neuter
I want to spay and neuter
gerbils?
my gerbil. Those things are evil.
Where do I do that?
Show me where.
You got a van?
Right now. Is there a hotline? Maybe YouTube. Maybe YouTube has a video.